Hello and welcome to the Passion Driven Pioneers interview series. I am your host, John Channon, and today I'm joined by Neil Boehlke, who is the president of Plus One Construction. Neil, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, would you like to kick us off with a brief background as to who you are, what you do, and the business that you're in?
Sure. My name is Neil Boehlke. I'm the president and partner owner. I'm also an owner here. Plus One Construction. We're a full service general contractor. I'd say we specialize in remodeling and residential and commercial. We also do insurance restoration work, interior and exterior. That is more specifically targeted in the residential side.
Great. So, what inspired you to start your own business and go out on your own?
So I have been in construction for about going on 17 years now. I started with a friend who owned a company, was a general contractor. I was still in college at the time. They said, "Hey, we got some opening, we're growing, come on as a project coordinator." Started as a project coordinator, and then kind of worked my way up, into managing larger. This was all residential stuff. Uh, doing, we were basically rehabbing homes for banks during the housing market crash. So the housing market crash, this company obtained direct contracts with like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Wells Fargo, and these banks were sitting on dead assets. So we would go in and do full inspection on all the mechanical systems and go in and make sure the code would pass an FHA inspection to finance it. And this is obviously, post that housing crash. This is probably 2010, 2011, the economy's starting to rebound. So we were doing that, and I did that for about 5 years. We did really well. But that foreclosure side of the business kind of faded away. And that was basically the side of the business I was running for them. So we kind of parted ways mutually. And then I stepped into commercial construction. I'd been doing commercial construction since then. So for probably about I'd say about the last 8 years after that, 8 or 9 years, I did commercial construction for a couple different firms. One of them was a national fixture installer. The other was a local large ground up commercial GC, a lot of retail construction. And then I just had gotten to a point where I'd worked for all these different firms. I'd seen a lot of different types of construction, that I felt comfortable to get out on my own and get my GC license and open up my company. So that's kind of how I got to where I am today.
Now that you're running your own business, would you mind sharing some of the common misconceptions there are out there about running a business? And then also, how do you address those?
Misconception of a business. I think people are like, oh, you have so much time in the world, blah, blah, blah. Like you're flexible. I'm very busy. The amount of work that it takes to run a company, to start a company, it's real. And the amount of work is whatever people tell you times like five. It's not all, oh, you're the owner, you get to, take time and do as you please. It's really, there's hard work and effort and blood, sweat, and tears that go into, building, your systems and your processes and all that stuff just takes really a lot of time, thought, and effort to get there. So when people are like, "Oh, great, you get to work," I'm like, "Yeah, it's great. I love it. I do love it." But the time uh, is a lot of work, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. So you have to do the work and put in the time because you got to recognize that, you know what, you're 100% accountable for getting this up and getting it up and running and off the ground successfully.
Exactly. When my wife, the way that it kind of happened is I opened my company and I was working part-time for another construction company. Now, granted, we weren't competing in any same spaces. This is a national fixture kind of niche retail commercial contractor, and I was doing residential building. However, my company was growing and I was getting more work, and they found out about my personal company here, and we kind of just said nope, they didn't like the conflict of interest. Well, that pushed me, good thing I had my company opening. My wife said get to work. Um, but I think those first 6 months, they were tough for me. But I knew I had to get up and get out of bed every day. Otherwise, nothing's going to happen because it's just me and my partner. And if we don't get up and that accountability is, it has to be there. You have to have that drive to get up and want to do better for yourself.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you were working and starting your business at the same time. So how do you maintain a work-life balance as a business owner? And then do you have any personal rituals or habits that keep you motivated and focused?
So what was the first part of the question again? I got the second one.
Maintaining work-life balance.
Oh, yep.
How
So
do you do
that's
that?
gotta that's probably one of the hardest things to do. But I think you need to be intentional with your appointments, your time, where you're allocating it, um, and know that there has to be a line drawn in, communication with customers and employees. It's like, this is the time that I allocate to spend with my family. And, you can call me and bother me, but I'm not going to really get into deep dive conversations with you, unless it's something emergency wise. That's a difficult thing. I got one daughter, a wife, and a second kid on the way. So that's definitely something I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis, having to do daycare and drop-offs and pickups and coordinating all that type of stuff. It's difficult, but I think it's worth it in the end. And then kind of some key rituals, things that I do to what was that second part of that question?
Are there any rituals or habits that you use to keep motivated and focused?
Okay, one of them I think that's important for everybody just in general is to exercise.
Hmm.
And it doesn't have to be a lot. You don't have to do a lot, but I think even if just doing some cardio for 15 minutes. I like to Peloton. I like to ride bike. So like pedal bikes, I'm talking specifically. I do a lot of bike riding in the summer. In the winter, I'm kind of doing my Peloton. So staying active in that aspect. And then I also, the flip side of it, like to do yoga, meditation, stuff like that. It really kind of keeps me grounded and it keeps me in a really type of even headspace. I've noticed when things kind of drag on and I'm not in my routine, like I feel like I'm mentally not as focused and as just, there as much as I should be if I'm kind of out and I'm not like doing my regular stuff.
Okay, that's good. So the exercise helps probably just with some level of stress reduction, but also clears your mind a little bit, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean the physical I think is the obvious benefit, but for me it's the mental. It just kind of keeps my brain in a good spot, if that makes sense.
That's good. I'm going to change the subject a little bit here. So in the, constantly evolving business landscape, right? It's changing. So how do you stay adaptable and open to change in your business?
I think the one thing that you have to be is open-minded to new ideas, new thought processes, new ways to do things, and being open to it. I think one of the worst things that people do is get complacent, and just maybe not even in their business, but their life sometimes. Change is good. I know that not everybody likes change, but change in my mind is growth. When things change, you're pushing yourself into spaces that aren't necessarily comfortable for you, and they make you, bring something out or just bring change. And just think that that is a really good for a person, a company, and just kind of carrying that through that open-mindedness to new ideas, new people, new learnings. Um, that's the biggest. I preach that to people every day. Teach me something. Teach me something I don't know, because I want to learn. I'm a learner. I enjoyed school. I enjoyed college. People would complain about getting up to go to class. I didn't mind it. I liked to go because I wanted to learn things, and I'm still learning things. And that's just kind of being open-minded and learning and just staying ahead of the technology. We obviously live in a very technologically advanced era. The amount of, even AI and all the stuff that's being involved into softwares and programs and algorithms and, drones. And it's just like, I mean, you can only know so much about everything, right? But it just being aware, having that awareness, different ways that you can try to implement systems and processes to make your job a little easier.
That's great. So when you first started your business, and you look at where you're at today, are you where you thought you would be at this point in time?
No. We stayed small, I think, kind of for a reason. We weren't really looking to really get big quick. I know that's a huge thing because if you grow, they say you grow too fast, you can fail, taking on too much work. That was always a fear of mine, is like, I don't want to be that contractor, that guy who starts, just gets all this work and all this stuff and then not have the ability to perform and execute on my end for the customer. That is always was a fear of mine. So we took things slow and steady. We have grown, I'd say, significantly in the last 6 to 8 months, however. But we were at a point there where it was a slow and steady growth like this, and then I felt like we were at a good spot where we had systems, we had processes, we knew how to execute, and then we were able to take that, bring in the people, and then it's starting to go like that. So it was a little bit of a process to get where we are, but I think we did it the right way. Um, call it the hard way.
Oh, no, that sounds like a good journey. So now let's look a little bit forward. Could you offer a glimpse into your future plans and goals for your business now that you're on this growth curve?
Um, I know we definitely want to up our sales team. We'd like to get up into that. This is obviously down the road. We have one sales team right now. It's about it's fluctuating between 4 to 6 guys right now. We want to grow that side of the business, the restoration side, and like to have that increase to, at some point, like to have a couple teams of 6. Um, this is all while my sales, manager and kind of manages that, can put people in place, move to director of sales, have a couple sales managers under him. And then we'd also like to get a little bit more involved into the commercial realm. That's where a lot of my strengths lie. Doing bigger, larger scale commercial side uh, builds. I think we're always going to have a remodeling division here for the residential side, just because it's some of the work that's not as sought after as a lot of contractors. A lot of people don't do interior stuff. There's a lot of exterior remodelers.
Hmm.
So you'd be surprised at the demand for the remodeling side. I mean, and we do zero marketing for it. We've done really no marketing for it, but the word of mouth on that side of the business is very strong. Um, and I think we'll always have that, but I don't think we're going to be ever marketing it ourselves as like the true, this is all we do. And we're going to do it well. Like, we're going to do it and we do it really good when we do it, but we're kind of selective the projects that we take on that side. So I think long term, it's going to be a lot of the exterior stuff and hoping to get back into that commercial ring a little bit more than we are right now.
Yeah, they say that, referral-based marketing is one of the strongest marketing techniques you can have out there if you are able to use that. And when you said word of mouth, That's essentially what I heard was, oh, that's like a referral based marketing, right? Somebody's referring you because of the work that you did for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really great. So, you know, recognizing that this program's kind of directed towards people who are just starting up their own business or maybe in their first few years, you know, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, I think it can be a really beautiful journey. If someone's willing to embark on it, I'd say the work, I know I mentioned this earlier in the podcast, but I've talked to people about this over and over, and then just tell them that be ready to sacrifice a lot of time, a lot of effort, um, and put it into a place and really work at it every day, getting up, and it's kind of a grind. I mean, it is for a little bit, and you got to have that drive and the motivation to do all that. It's not you flip a switch and things happen. That's absolutely not, that is the farthest from the truth. Um, but I can say that the growth journey and everything along the way, one thing that we say that we've been saying in my company for a long time, me and my partner, is we celebrate every win, no matter if it's a small, large, medium. We celebrate every win because it just doesn't happen all the time, you know. So enjoy the success, whether small, little. That can really kind of help keep you going sometimes in the harder times. Um, and just stay focused. Keep your eye on the prize. Build, short-term goals, long-term goals. Um, Really have a plan. I'd say a good plan in your head before you start. Don't just kind of, let's get into selling windmills. If you don't know anything about it, I'd say be educated, make smart decisions, and just kind of do things as you see fit. But the drive, the work, the goals, write things down, be accountable for you, your partner, your, husband, wives, whatever. That accountability factor is important.
That's really great advice. So I appreciate your sharing that because there was a lot packed into that last one. But, you know, and that underlying theme of having that attitude and celebrating those wins, I think is really one of the keys. So thank you so much for your
Yes.
time today, Neil. It was
Yeah,
great
thanks for
meeting
having me
you.
on.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was,
Same
and learning
here.
more about your entrepreneurial journey. And then to everybody watching, you know, I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.